immediately starts flowing through that private LLC. We're talking millions of dollars from Turning Point and from Turning Point PAC. Right around that same exact time, Tyler Boyer, who could barely handle his HOA fees, buys a $1.9 million mansion with $600,000 down.
Erika Kirk and the rest of the Turning Point USA crew just walked straight into a storm they clearly did not see coming. Out of nowhere, word started flying that every single TPUSA account was allegedly frozen by the IRS right in the middle of an active investigation. The timing could not have been worse. People inside the building say it felt like a bomb went off at headquarters. Phones blowing up, staff running around, total confusion. Nobody looked prepared for this level of heat.
Interesting, because he asked her the question, do you think these protests are helping? Personally, I do not. I think it's demonic.
But here's what really has people raising eyebrows. The only ones acting surprised are Erika and the TPUSA insiders themselves. For months, whistleblowers were already pointing fingers at the organization's finances, saying things did not add up. The warnings were not hidden. The red flags were in the open. Still, leadership brushed it off and kept moving like nothing was wrong. That silence is looking real loud right now. Now, the IRS reportedly has evidence that money was moving through TPUSA in ways it never should have been. This is not some tiny paperwork mistake. This is serious. When federal investigators freeze your accounts during an investigation, that is next-level trouble. No polished press release is going to smooth this over. This situation just got very real, very fast. That move tells you everything you need to know. When federal investigators freeze accounts, it means they believe there is enough evidence of serious financial misconduct to lock things down right now. That is not a warning shot. That is a direct action. It sends a loud message that something behind the scenes does not look right. And honestly, this next part makes the whole situation even more chaotic. Think back to TPUSA's big patriotic Super Bowl halftime show, the one hyped up as this huge all-American moment. It was supposed to be a spotlight win. Instead, it is turned into a full-blown mess. Reports say Kid Rock never received his payment, and he is not the kind of person who just shrugs and walks away. He has made it clear that if he does not get paid in full immediately, he is ready to expose everything he knows about TPUSA's financial dealings, every detail, every receipt, everything. That threat alone has Erika's camp on edge right now. Kid Rock is not some random vendor they can brush off. He is outspoken, well-connected, and clearly upset. And that leaves one big question hanging in the air that nobody at TPUSA seems able to answer straight. If Kid Rock is speaking up right now, someone who is publicly aligned with this movement, how many more are about to step forward? That is the real pressure building behind the scenes. How many vendors, performers, and insiders are sitting there with unpaid invoices, ignored emails, and growing frustration, just waiting to see how this plays out? Once one person breaks the silence, others usually feel bold enough to do the same, and that's when things can spiral fast. To understand how TPUSA landed in this spot, you have to rewind to how that halftime show even came together. It was promoted as TPUSA's big patriotic answer to the mainstream Super Bowl performance. Erika pushed it heavy as part of an anti-woke cultural moment. It was framed as a statement, a show meant to prove that real America was still strong and proud. It was tied directly into TPUSA's fundraising engine, wrapped in red, white, and blue branding, and sold to supporters as something worth backing with their money. But once the lights went down, the praise did not last. Complaints started rolling in almost immediately. People said the quality was weak, the production looked rushed, the performance didn't hit the way it was promised, and those who paid to attend or donated to make it happen began asking serious questions about where the money actually went, because whatever the budget was, it clearly did not show up on that stage. At its core, this show was never really about art, performance, or some deep cultural message. It was about locking in sponsors, moving merch, and charging premium ticket prices. That's the hard truth. The whole thing looked like a fundraising machine dressed up in red, white, and blue. Once supporters started realizing that, frustration flipped into straight-up anger. People felt like they bought into a promise that didn't match what they saw on stage. What made it worse is simple. Kid Rock and the rest of the performers still expected to be paid, no matter how the crowd reacted. And that's fair. You show up, you perform, you get paid. That's basic business. But insiders claim Kid Rock's payment was not delayed by paperwork or some accounting glitch. They say it was withheld on direct orders from TPUSA leadership. Not processing issues, not bank timing, a deliberate hold. And the reason floating around? There allegedly wasn't enough money to cover it. The second word spread that Kid Rock had not been paid, the energy shifted fast. People inside started linking the IRS account freeze to those missing payments. Vendors who had been patient started comparing notes. Emails were being forwarded. Quiet conversations turned loud. One question started moving through the entire TPUSA circle. If Kid Rock is speaking up right now, someone who was publicly aligned with this movement, how many more are about to step forward? That is the real pressure building behind the scenes. How many vendors, performers, and insiders are sitting there with unpaid invoices, ignored emails, and growing frustration, just waiting to see how this plays out? Once one person breaks the silence, others usually feel bold enough to do the same, and that's when things can spiral fast. That is when the real panic kicked in. It is one thing if a small contractor stays quiet. It is a whole different situation when a nationally recognized artist with a massive platform starts demanding answers. And here's the reality. Kid Rock does not need TPUSA, but TPUSA definitely does not need him going public with receipts. TPUSA needed him, and they still could not hold up their side of the deal. That alone says a lot. But here's where this story gets even harder to brush off. The alleged IRS situation might sound shocking to casual observers, but for people who have been watching TPUSA closely since Charlie Kirk passed away, this outcome did not come out of nowhere. To them, it felt almost predictable. Voices like Candace Owens had been raising serious questions about TPUSA's finances for months before any IRS freeze rumors started circulating. She repeatedly pointed to how much money was flowing into the organization and asked how it was being tracked. According to her, large sums were coming in that did not have clear, easy-to-follow explanations. Instead of leadership addressing those concerns head-on, the critics were pushed aside. The message was not debated, it was dismissed. Candace even brought a private investigator onto her podcast, someone who claimed to have reviewed TPUSA's financial records directly. And what he described was not minor bookkeeping confusion. He said there were multiple missing tax documents tied to the organization. One subsidiary reportedly had no tax filings on record for 2024, not incomplete forms, not late paperwork, none at all. That detail alone raised serious eyebrows. And here's what shifts the timeline in a big way. These financial red flags did not suddenly appear after Charlie Kirk's passing. Reports suggest Charlie himself had started noticing irregular money movement inside the organization before his death. If that's accurate, then the warning signs were flashing long before this situation exploded into public view. Before he passed away, Charlie had reportedly ordered a full internal audit of TPUSA's finances. That wasn't random. He saw red flags. He wanted clear answers about where the money was going and how it was being handled. Then suddenly, he was gone. What happened right after his death is something a lot of people watched unfold in real time, and it left a strong reaction across the board, and not in a good way. Within hours of Charlie's passing, TPUSA rolled out a massive merchandise and fundraising push. Not weeks later, not after a quiet period, the very next day. The website was packed with new shirts, memorial gear, and tribute products. The branding framed Charlie as a martyr for the movement. The rollout was fast, coordinated, and clearly planned, and the money started coming in almost immediately. Several fundraising campaigns launched under TPUSA's name across multiple platforms. Reports say those donations alone came close to $10 million. One major fundraiser, promoted through Tucker Carlson's platform, reportedly brought in over $5 million by itself. And that does not even include tour revenue, book sales, royalties, or paid speaking events that followed in the weeks after. Each of those streams opened another lane for cash to move in and out of the organization. According to investigators, every one of those lanes also created a detailed paper trail. And when large amounts of money move quickly through multiple channels, tracking it becomes critical. Now those financial pathways are reportedly under scrutiny, with attention landing directly on TPUSA leadership and how everything was managed behind closed doors. What could have stayed financial speculation suddenly turned deeply personal when a recorded Zoom call between Erika and TPUSA staff leaked and went viral. The call reportedly happened just days after Charlie's death. But what truly hit people was not just that the meeting existed, it was the tone throughout the entire call. That is what set social media on fire. Viewers said nothing about Erika's demeanor reflected visible grief. There was no heavy silence, no emotional pause. Instead, people heard laughter, casual jokes, and, according to those who reviewed the footage, comments about how much money TPUSA had brought in from the memorial events. The timing of those remarks is what stunned people. Days after her husband's passing, the focus in that call appeared to center on revenue. That clip alone reshaped how many saw her overnight. Supporters who once gave Erika the benefit of the doubt suddenly found themselves questioning everything. Even longtime defenders started stepping back. They began asking questions they could not ignore. Was the faith-driven mission messaging fully sincere, or was it tied closely to aggressive fundraising tactics? How much of the Honoring Charlie's Legacy campaign reflected genuine remembrance, and how much of it was a calculated financial strategy wrapped in the language of grief? That leaked call shifted the conversation from accounting questions to trust issues. And once trust gets shaken like that, rebuilding it becomes a whole different battle. Those questions did not fade away, and Erika's reaction only poured more tension into the situation. Instead of directly addressing the financial concerns or offering clear explanations, she went on air and warned critics who were asking for transparency. There was no detailed breakdown, no step-by-step clarification, just strong pushback aimed at anyone pressing for answers about how TPUSA's money was being handled. When those warnings did not land the way she expected, the tone shifted again. She stepped back from public comment and let her PR team take control. But that strategy did not calm anything down. The silence made the speculation grow louder. Every unanswered question turned into another headline. The more the issue was avoided, the more attention it attracted. Things hit a breaking point during a major protest outside a TPUSA event, and at that stage, ignoring the pressure was no longer an option. Erika had just launched what she called TPUSA's Make Heaven Crowded tour, starting at Harvest Church in Riverside. The tour was promoted as a nationwide mission to honor Charlie's legacy and inspire a Christian revival. The branding was bold, the language was powerful, the message was wrapped in faith-driven energy. But outside those church doors, the atmosphere told a different story. Within minutes of the event starting, more than 100 protesters gathered at the venue. They were not there to cheer, they were there to demand accountability, and they made sure their presence was seen and heard. Protest signs went up fast, and they did not hold back. Demonstrators raised concerns about immigration enforcement operations, describing them as family separations that were hurting communities. Others focused on the ongoing conflict in Gaza, saying the leaders and organizations inside that building were not speaking clearly enough about the humanitarian impact. The crowd was loud, organized, and determined to be heard. Adding even more tension, the event was hosted at Harvest Church, where Pastor Greg Laurie was, at the time, facing multiple lawsuits that included serious allegations of sexual misconduct. That alone made the venue controversial before anyone even stepped on stage. So before the first microphone check, the location itself was already under scrutiny. The scene was striking. Inside the church, Erika Kirk stood on stage talking about faith, revival, and preserving Charlie's legacy. Outside those same doors, voices were raised, chants echoed through the parking lot, and protesters demanded accountability from the organization she led. The contrast was impossible to ignore. Then came the moment that shifted everything. Instead of stepping outside to address concerns or even choosing neutral language, Erika referred to the protesters as demonic. That single word hit hard. For many people who were undecided, that was the tipping point. Even some supporters who had stood by her through earlier controversies suddenly pulled back. The tone changed overnight, and the conversation around her leadership took a sharp turn. The criticism came from every direction, and it hit hard. As the protest backlash settled in, more people began connecting dots between Erika's sharp response to critics and the reported IRS investigation. The picture forming around TPUSA was not comfortable. There is a real difference between protecting an organization's privacy and aggressively shutting down every attempt to examine financial records. One approach is understandable, the other raises serious concern. Observers pointed to a pattern: public threats, long stretches of silence, tightly managed PR statements, and visible hostility toward anyone asking for transparency. Over time, it stopped looking like simple privacy protection. To many watching, it started to feel like something deeper was being shielded, and once that perception takes hold, it is hard to shake. Now back to Kid Rock, because this part of the story is not fading away anytime soon. He is not the type to quietly accept being ignored over payment. Tribute concert or not, branding and messaging aside, he performed and fulfilled his agreement. From his perspective, that means compensation is due. He has made it clear he expects to be paid in full, and if that does not happen, he has strongly suggested he is prepared to speak further about what he knows. That possibility alone keeps this situation very much alive. He is reportedly ready to take this fight into every public space available until he gets what he believes he is owed. And that kind of pressure carries serious weight, especially with an IRS investigation already in motion. If federal investigators are reviewing TPUSA's finances and a high-profile artist decides to cooperate, handing over contracts, payment records, emails, and any paperwork tied to TPUSA's financial activity, that could move things forward fast, real fast. That is why Erika's team appears to be deep in damage control mode right now. They're facing a tough choice: resolve the payment dispute quickly and reduce the noise, or risk dealing with a well-known, well-connected artist who is publicly pushing back while investigators are already reviewing financial records. That combination is not something any organization wants to juggle at the same time. And then there's another layer that could matter even more: the people inside the operation. When an IRS freeze hits, it does not just land on leadership, it sends a shockwave through vendors, contractors, performers, and internal staff. Everyone starts asking the same question: where do I stand in this? Because when finances come under scrutiny, no one connected wants to be caught off guard. The loyalty that once looked unshakable from the outside starts getting tested real quick when pressure like this hits. When people realize that protecting themselves could clash with protecting leadership, priorities shift. Reports suggest some insiders at TPUSA are already taking precautions. Internal emails are being screenshotted. Contracts are being reviewed line by line. Individuals are making sure their names are clearly separated from any decisions or transactions that investigators might examine in the next phase. That kind of quiet preparation speaks volumes. So while Erika projects calm on stage and her team works hard to control the public narrative, the ground underneath may not be as steady as it looks. The people who understand the organization's inner workings best are reportedly focusing on their own security. And that is the detail that should raise the most concern for anyone at the top. Because once even one insider decides that self-preservation matters more than loyalty, the dynamic changes completely. If someone walks into a federal office with documents and a detailed account of what they saw, the situation escalates instantly. At that point, it's no longer about rumors or public opinion. It becomes about records, timelines, and accountability. And when that door opens, everything connected to it can come into full view. If you've been following this story and want the real updates as they drop, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe right now. Share this video with anyone who needs to see what's really going on, and drop your thoughts in the comments, because this conversation is not slowing down anytime soon. Let's talk about it. What do you think is really happening behind the scenes?